Hi, and welcome to Water Wisdom. I'm Luke with the Alachua County Environmental Protection Department. In this series, we'll be increasing your water wisdom with weekly topics and interviews discussing the amazing waters in and around Alachua County. Today, we are exploring the amazing world of constructed treatment wetlands. We are at Sweetwater Wetlands Park off Southeast Williston Road in Gainesville, Florida. This 112-acre treatment wetland has miles of trails, provides homes for animals, stores historic flow to Paynes Prairie, and most importantly, it improves the water quality entering into the aquifer. During this Water Wisdom, I challenge you to ask yourself, how does a constructed treatment wetland work? Why do we want to improve water quality? How can I be involved in protecting our water? And with that, let's get started with the virtual tour that was made by the City of Gainesville and the wonderful staff at Sweetwater Wetlands Park.
Hey guys, my name is Darby and I'm one of the rangers here at Sweetwater Wetlands Park, and I'm here today to give you a virtual tour of the park. So Sweetwater Wetlands Park has a rich history. We are a constructed enhancement wetland built to deal with some of the excess nitrate issues that we have coming from the city of Gainesville. So the story starts back in the 1930s. The Camp family owned most of what is today Paynes Prairie Preserve State Park. They were cattle ranchers, so they built a canal that traveled south from here across the prairie to connect with the Alachua Sink, and that eventually goes down into the Florida Aquifer, where we get most of our drinking water from. That canal drained 1,300 acres of the prairie. They put fences up and they raised cows on that land for a long time. Eventually, as the city grew, additional pollutants were added to the water. This includes stormwater runoff, industrial discharge, septic tanks, and discharge from the wastewater facility. That water was traveling via that canal down into the Alachua Sink and ultimately into the Florida Aquifer. So the city of Gainesville decided to remove the canal and construct an enhancement wetland to remove some of the excess nitrates that we had here at the park.
Hi everybody, my name is Kimberly. I'm another park ranger out here at Sweetwater Wetlands Park, and I'm here to talk to you today about the step one of the water treatment process that happens out here. A big part of that is going to be our sediment basin. So this is step one right here. Sweetwater Branch feeds into the north end of the basin, and then that water has to slowly move through the basin. It gets slowed down by that concrete pad. There are structures underneath that help the water slow down. That way the sediment that's eroding from upstream can actually percolate out and settle into the basin. So if you come out to our park, you'll notice little bits and piles of sand as that sediment has actually accumulated over time. Every 12 to 24 months, we'll actually clean this out. Last time it was cleaned out, we filled 299 dump trucks worth of dirt. That's how much sediment's eroding upstream. Another thing that you'll see when you come to our sediment basin is a lot of floating trash. Now that's really important to note because we actually have a trash trap that helps to funnel all of that into a bucket that we can easily collect and remove from the park. That way that trash doesn't continue to move through the wetlands and into Paynes Prairie like it used to historically if it went through that canal system. Another thing that you can often see here is that where the creek feeds in, if it's very rainy, we'll have a lot of water flowing over that concrete pad. Now on a daily basis, we'll be having about 7 million gallons of water a day flowing from that creek, and a lot of that water is going to be coming from the Main Street wastewater treatment facility.
Behind me, you can see the Forebay. This is where water comes after leaving the sediment basin. It's 7 acres and about 6 feet deep. This is where fine sediment and any trash that escapes the sediment basin comes to. From here, the water is evenly distributed across the 3 wetland cells via these concrete structures here, which are called weirs. Weirs have an underground pipe that moves underneath the trail and allows the water to move from the forebay into the wetland cell. There's 6 of them total in the park, 1 at the top of each cell and 1 at the exit of each cell. They also allow monitoring crews to come in here and use them as water monitoring access points. Hey guys, so we're out here in the middle of cell number 1. This is one of 3 enhancement wetlands that we have here at Sweetwater Wetlands Park. It's the area where the water comes after it leaves the forebay. So the water comes into this system and it moves through different levels. So the water depth varies anything from 2 feet above the water, as you can see in the trees behind me, to 5 feet deep. This allows the water to mix and filter through the system in a more efficient way. So when the park was constructed, 400,000 plants were taken from donor marshes all across the state of Florida. There were 7 plants that were the dominant species planted out here: sandcord grass, lanceleaf arrowhead, pickerel weed, alligator flag, giant bulrush, soft rush, and knotted spiked rush. The primary purpose of Sweetwater Wetlands Park is to remove nitrates from the water. So what are nitrates? Well, these are naturally occurring compounds that are found in all ecosystems. However, in excess, they can cause damage to an ecosystem. Luckily for us, wetlands are considered nature's water filters. Sweetwater Wetlands Park, as a constructed enhancement wetland, is able to remove these nitrates through the denitrification process. Now, there are 2 things that are required for denitrification to occur. The first of which is an anaerobic environment, which means having a lack of oxygen. The mud found at the substrate level in Sweetwater Wetlands Park meets this condition. The second thing that's required is bacteria action. These bacteria can be found in the root systems of the plants planted here at Sweetwater Wetlands Park. Using these 2 things, the bacteria are able to take in nitrates and release them as nitrogen gas, which is non-harmful to the environment, much like how we take in oxygen and release it as carbon dioxide. Eventually, as it moves through the system, which takes 3 to 10 days depending on water flow, the water gets released out into Paynes Prairie Preserve State Park and eventually makes its way down into the Floridan aquifer. Living in Florida, extra consideration had to be given to what would happen when large rain events happened in the area. Occasionally, millions of extra gallons of water will move into the system. Wetlands can only handle a certain amount of water flow before the speed of the water actually starts ripping plants out of the ground. Fortunately for us, the weirs are designed in such a way that they do not allow the water to exceed that limit. So what happens to the extra water when the park meets its capacity? Well, behind me, you'll see the bridge, and underneath the bridge is a dam. When extra water comes into the park, the Forebay will fill up, the weirs hit their maximum capacity, and then the water continues to rise. Eventually, it will come out in one of 2 overflow locations. This is the primary one. It flows over the dam into the forested slough, where it moves through a channelized body of water out into our sheet flow that moves across Paynes Prairie at the south end of the park.
So the body of water that you see behind me is our distribution channel. Another name for Sweetwater Wetlands Park is the Paynes Prairie Sheet Flow Restoration Project, and that is referring to this back channel. So our distribution channel is where all the water that has come through the 3 wetland cells gets recombined into what is called a sheet flow. That means the water is moving at a shallow depth consistently across the landscape, and then it's rehydrating 1,300 acres of drained prairie wetlands. If you recall, those wetlands were drained back in the 1930s when that canal was put in place and connecting the creek to Alachua Sink. That was made into grazing lands, and so what we're doing here is we're rehydrating those drained wetlands and restoring that natural water flow back to the prairie. The water behind me is the cleanest water that has come out of Sweetwater Branch in over 100 years. It is the last part of our park in our water treatment process, and then the water is free to flow through the Paynes Prairie Basin. So when you are sitting at an overlook looking over the south end of our park, you are looking into the expanse of Paynes Prairie.
I'm Luke, and this is Water Wisdom. I hope you learned about the amazing journey water has in Sweetwater Wetlands Park. Many thanks to the staff and the City of Gainesville for providing Water Wisdom this virtual tour of Sweetwater Wetlands Park. I hope you have learned about the importance that wetlands have in providing clean water for Florida. I look forward to seeing you again in future episodes where we will discuss springs, lakes, sinkholes, and more. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to explore this wonderful park. And until next time, stay water wise.